And we should be live. All right. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Makers Muse Sunday stream. This is going to be my last stream before I head off to Bay Area Maker Faire, which is super exciting. Hey, so we've got William, Technology Nerd, 3D Printing Meathead, Fink, Eric. Welcome.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? With Wix, you can create.
And we have Lady Muse. And she will be helping out on questions as well. I love how YouTube plays ads on my own stream, so I can't actually see it yet. Anyway, welcome. So yeah, as I said, this is the last stream I'm going to be able to do before I go to Bay Area Maker Faire in May. It's going to be super exciting. I am so keen to catch up with loads of you guys over there in the States. I'm going to be meeting up with Joel, the 3D printing nerd, Joe, the 3D maker noob, Dustin over at Jatman. So many of you guys. It's going to be super exciting. And yeah, today we're going to be doing some Q&A. As I said, I've got Lady Muse in the chat, who's going to be trying to keep up on questions. I'm not sure how many there will be rolling through. Update you on what's been going on here. And essentially, I'm here to help you make your 3D printing a more enjoyable experience. And if there's things I can help with, I will try to do it in today's stream. Keep in mind, I can't really help with 3D printer recommendations of printers I've never tested because I've never tested them. Therefore, it'd be irresponsible for me to recommend them. Bob's saying, lucky you, you're getting ads. Yeah, I am. The whole ad apocalypse on YouTube is a little bit interesting. I think with streams, at least, they don't kill them instantly. But Makers Muse is pretty much a PG channel, mostly. So, except when Lady Muse is on. So, usually I don't get blocked. Mike, do I plan to bring any small printers with me to Banff just for fun? I would love to bring some printers like the Trinus, but I'm not going to have any room in my bags. I'm bringing so much video gear, my laptop, spare hard drives, spare batteries. There's no room for it. I need clothes. I mean, yeah, I know Maker Faire, I probably can get away with one set of clothes, but I don't need clothes. So it's no room for a printer, unfortunately. But why would I bring a printer when there's going to be so many there? I mean, Maker Faire is going to be crazy. There's going to be so many machines there. And today I'm not drinking a Red Bull or anything. I'm drinking coconut water with coffee. So we'll see how that goes. 1,000 subscribers without a video. Just bought a MP Select V2. Any advice? I would make sure that you upgrade the bed leveling screws to thumb screws. I don't know if they've already done that on the V2. And what else? No, it's pretty much good to go. Check my bed leveling guide on how to level printers like that. Lucky, how long am I staying in the States? I am staying there for Maker Faire and that's it, unfortunately. I'm not doing a long trip. Not this time anyway, just because I got so much to do in Sydney. But I'm hoping to go back for the New York Maker Faire in October. And that's going to be a longer trip because Lady Muse has family there, so we can stay places. Woohoo! I think I'm going to be sleeping on the floor of Joel Telling's hotel when I visit the Bay Area Maker Faire. Luke's asking, what do I do with my 3D print waste? Unfortunately, for the most part, I throw it away. And if you want to recycle your 3D print offcuts, go over to Devin's channel, Make Anything. He just did an awesome video on how to recycle PLA into guitar picks, charms, rings. Amazing. Check his video out. It's super cool. Just using a hot air gun, some glass, and you can reuse the PLA offcuts. It's really good. Go watch it. Nanaman DM'd you recently with a problem I had. Unfortunately, dude, I get like hundreds of PMs about 3D printing problems, and I don't have time to really assist in that case, especially with machines I don't know about.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not going to be asking Angus any questions about what the 3D printer, what does he think about this 3D printer, or what should you do to solve this problem, because unfortunately we just do not have the time to tackle those questions.
Yeah, and it'd be irresponsible for me to give advice on machines I've never used. So my advice would be go onto Facebook and find the 3D printing group that matches your machine and ask there, because that would be full of people who know exactly how to use that machine. That's the best advice I can give for that. Swag videos. How did I get my name? Are you talking about Angus or Makers Muse? My parents named me, and Makers Muse took ages. I was trying to come up with a name that encompassed my interests and didn't have 3D printing in it, because I'm not just about 3D printing. Thomas, do I have an ANET A8? No, I do not have an ANET A8, but I do have a Raise Cube, which is very similar. I'm not sure if you can see it behind me, maybe, on the floor. I've just almost finished putting it together. Very similar. They're saying they can't hear you. Did you unmute yourself when you talked?
No, Sal would do that.
She's currently muted herself, which is why you can't hear her. You can see Lady Muse in the back. Yes, you can barely see Lady Muse. That's how she likes it.
I am your boyfriend, apparently.
Don't forget to unmute yourself. Right. Mr. Peanut Butter Octopus, that is an awesome name. How can I get a good first layer? Go watch my video on getting a good first layer. You need to have the layer height dialed in nicely, and you need a good amount of extrusion to make sure that layer sticks, and also a good clean print surface without any dust and crap on it. John, do I like the form? I have not fired up the form 2 yet. As yet, I've been too busy. It's sitting there looking gorgeous, but I have not turned it on yet. So, soon. But I haven't got an opinion on it yet. Marcus is asking, how do I get rid of PLA clogging with an E3D V6? Yeah, it depends on if it's an all-metal or a PTFE line. If it's got the PTFE line, then you might have damaged that. You might have to take it apart. And the heat creep might have gone up into it, which means the PLA softens and jams in that PTFE tube. Or your nozzle might be blocked, in which case if your nozzle is blocked, heat it up and use a acupuncture needle or a 0.4mm drill bit to punch it through and clean it out. Shivel is asking specifically at you, Lady Muse, will you be unboxing any more 3D printers?
Let me unmute that.
Yes, I will be. As fun and chaotic as it was, I'm definitely planning to do one in the near future.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, she unboxed the Flux Delta Plus, and it was an interesting experience. It didn't work out of the box because of the cable issue, but that was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to get her to unbox more machines.
I'm practicing on keeping my language PG.
Yeah. I think for streams, I don't monetize streams, so I don't really care, but other videos, I tend to keep the language PG.
Well then, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you.
Shoot.
So Ben Anderson asks, what's the next big thing you're excited to see in 3D printing in the Bay Area?
So for the Bay Area Maker Faire, I have no idea what to expect. I'm hoping to see some really big machines like the See Me CNC Part Daddy. That I think that's going to be there. That looks awesome. And I'm hoping to see some of the newer generation, I suppose, small, cheap, I don't know. Like I am getting a Wanhao Duplicator 7 at some point, but I'd like to see them in person and see what prints they're getting off them. The new small cheap resin printers are really exciting for me because resin 3D printing's always been so expensive and it's always been so prohibitively difficult. But now it's changing, so I'm really keen to see how that goes. And just to see what else there are, like experimental machines. I'm totally keen to see what people have made, just not to sell, just to actually create. I'm really keen to see that. Yeah, any more questions?
Well, some of them have been asking, what on earth are you drinking today?
Oh yes, so today's drink of choice is not an energy drink, it's actually pure coffee, organic, Arabic, raw coconut water. It's not sponsored in any way by this, it's just, it was on special and I thought I'd try something that wasn't an energy drink. It's okay. It's not, it's okay. I don't do coffee too well. Oh, Azar, thank you so much for the $10. All the way from Vancouver, BC. Awesome. I'd love to visit Vancouver, actually. I'd love to go all around that area. Creative Mode, am I Australian? Did the accent tip you off? Also, I say vase and patent and other words that upset people. Sandkit, should I buy the TiVo Tarantula? If you have seen, well, you must be new here. For a start, I don't like the TiVos just because of my experience with them. They have changed. I've said it a million times. But basically, go check out the Facebook group and see what you're getting yourself into. You can get great prints, but you're going to have to work for it. That's my experience. Ragnand, how do I stop PLA warping? If you're making PLA warp, that's a pretty good effort. PLA should never warp. I have seen it sometimes if you're running too hot. And also your print surface sucks if it's warping. So you need a better print surface. It's either dirty or it's not doesn't have a coating that's sticking the PLA down enough, or you're not close enough to the first layer. If it's glass, try glue stick. That helps a lot. But yeah, otherwise PLA should not be warping at all. Yeah.
Yep, I've got a question.
Feel free to interrupt me. You have the liberty to.
I know, but you just ramble and ramble and ramble.
Yeah, and you say what do they do in Iron Chef? They're pretty son. Like they just.
I'll just get a poking stick.
Yeah, just poke me.
Stick. Okay, so Tim Baker asks, are there any maker spaces in Sydney or the Gong that you know about?
Maker spaces, yes, there is. So in Sydney, there is Robots and Dinosaurs. I used to be a part of Robots and Dinosaurs in Sydney when they were in Gladesville. Now they're in Maryland, I think. So Robots and Dinosaurs have 3D printers and laser cutters. And in the Gong, no, there's no maker spaces. If there was, I would let you know because I would be part of it. Although I might start one, I'd like to, but the feasibility of that's quite hard. But no, there's definitely Robots and Dinosaurs in Sydney, but not in the Gong.
Oh, and someone's asked, are you going to do another Slicer video?
Like a Slicer showdown?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm planning to. Slicers have changed a massive amount in the last year. Like, you've got Slicer with the 3, so Slice... what does Tom say? Slick 3R? So we've got Slick 3R, which has variable layer heights and 3D infill. It's nuts. You've got the new Cura. You've got the new Craftware. So yeah, I'd really like to, but it's just... There's time involved, and also, how far do you tweak a slicer? Like, do you tweak it to be perfect on one print, or do you use defaults that work well for other prints? I'm not sure. That was the biggest complaint I had in my first video, because I used defaults. But how far do you tweak it? Do I use multiple machines? I'm not sure. There's a lot of super chats. Thanks, guys.
Well, shall I bang one to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so someone asked, I am having issues with joints binding, welding when I print things like iris boxes or the platform jack. Is this a settings issue? Any suggestions?
Okay, so thanks for $5, Jason. So if you're having issues with joints binding, that's usually an over-extrusion problem. So what's happening is your machine is extruding beyond where it should be. So your extrusion multiplier may be slightly too high. You might be printing a little bit too hot. And you might need more retraction, because when your printer stops, it might be oozing a bit, which might be bonding. I mean, the iris box is a really hard print. I'll be honest, it's really difficult to print. And if you've got any stringing or extrusion issues, it's gonna bind up. So yeah, I would definitely try lowering your print temperatures, lowering your multiplier or flow rate, depending on what machine you have. It may be called flow rate, and trying to tweak your retraction. I have videos on retraction as well, which might help you.
Thanks, Pyro Design.
For a monster at Banff. I gotta admit, guys, I am super keen to try energy drinks in America. It's something Lady Muse is a little bit worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also JTT TV is just also saying your E-steps may be off. That's also another issue. Your extrusion amount per, like, you're extruding 100 millimeters. You have to actually try that and see if it is about 100 millimeters. If it's off, then your machine will be completely uncalibrated for extrusion, which means you'll be struggling for a long time to get those settings right. Simon, have I ever heard of XYZ printing? XYZ printing? Yes. The Da Vinci's. If you like chipped cartridges, by all means. Otherwise, they're nothing special, in my opinion.
Now the question...
Mm-hmm.
So this one was a little bit by Matthew. So hopefully Matthew's still in the chat. How cheap is too cheap concerning filament? Your favorite topic.
Oh, filament. Okay. I get asked this every time I stream. So to put it into perspective, filament, I would buy the cheapest that is I guess, affordable to you in terms of what you're printing, who you're printing it for, and why you care. So shipping is a massive thing with filament, as well as the price of the filament. I buy from Hobby King, for example, and I've never had an issue. You'd have to try really hard these days to get crap filament. But having said that, your quality control goes down. So you might have a good roll and then a crap roll, and then a good roll and crap roll from a cheap supplier. So if you're printing on demand and people are paying you money for printing, then I'd probably spend a bit more for a reputable brand like ColorFab. You're always going to get amazing prints off ColorFab, for example. But if you're printing for yourself, look, get the cheapest you can. And worst case, it prints crap, you just never buy that brand again. So I got heaps of filament from Hobby King when it was on special for like $5-6 a kilo. And it prints great. It smells a bit, it's ABS, but it prints really well. So yeah, that's my advice. If you don't care, get the cheapest. Why not? You're not going to find ball bearings in filament anymore. You used to find bits of metal in filament, but not anymore.
Well, I'd like to extend a thanks for Robert for donating money for your meal at BAM. I'm glad your fans are going to take care of you and make sure you're fed and well supplied with energy drinks.
Thank you so much, Robert. The food at the venue is awful. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I mean, most convention centers, the food's terrible, let's be honest. So, thank you. I'll make sure I plan for it. Skyjack was...
So you got some super chats.
Oh, wow. Okay. Just quickly, Skyjack was saying, can I do a matter control vid? Yes, if I did another Slicer showdown, I would include matter control. Absolutely.
Hi, Joel.
Joel. Oh, Joel, thank you. I have a question. Can I buy you a tasty West Coast IPA when you're in the country for Bay Area Maker Faire? What sort of question is that? As if the answer would be no. I love a West Coast isopropyl alcohol. Oh dear, thank you. Have I missed any super chats? Yes, I've missed John. Thank you. Thanks for the $5, John. Other than changing layer height and nozzle diameter, what are some tips for improving small details? Tips for small details, again, you've already hit on layer height and nozzle. Nozzle diameter is the biggest one, but basically print a lot slower than you would normally and have lots of cooling, because little tips and edges, if you print them too fast, there's not much room for that heat to, I guess, dissipate, and you're putting more and more plastic on top of it because it's a very small area. It'll start drooping and melting, especially PLA. So you want to print slow and with loads of cooling. So as you can almost do a complete bridge over nothing without it drooping. That's the kind of speed you want. And then, yeah, small details go slow. And maybe consider using something like Polysmooth or something if you want to then polish the print afterwards, because you're going to still be limited to the layering effect. So curved details, unless you go like a really fine layer height, they'll still be faceted. Wow, 400 people watching. Oh my god. I'm just talking about 3D printing. I really appreciate you joining me.
This chat is totally lit. It's hard to keep track.
It is hard to keep track. That's why I keep the Lady Muse around. She is the princess of plastic.
I wouldn't go that far. I think our lovely, the Pink Mafia have totally owned
Heather.
that mantle. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Pink Mafia is princess of plastic.
Absolutely.
Oops, sorry about that. DJ Sherman, what designers should I follow on Thingiverse? Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I don't go to Thingiverse very often anymore. I tend to go to My Mini Factory. I've found a lot of awesome designers like Kirby and Devon make anything. Simone as well. I think Simone is on My Mini Factory, but mostly all the really high-end cosplay designers are on My Mini Factory now, so definitely check them out there. Thingiverse, the search engine sucks. There's a lot of crap on there because it's very old and there's no quality control, so I don't tend to look there very often unless I'm desperate for something.
Ben asks, does Lady Muse also think you should cut your hair?
Yeah, that's a good question. Should I cut my hair?
Absolutely not. It is beautiful and fabulous, a wonderful mane.
You heard it here first. I'm not allowed to cut my hair. It's just how it is. Randall 404 villain status. Dude, I'm sorry, but I just do not have time for it right now. It's definitely planned at some point. I will make a 3D printer for the community, open sourced, but right now I don't even have time to think about anything else. Spotfield's asking why aren't all models 3D printable? I guess you're meaning on Thingiverse. It's because people have uploaded them without testing, and a lot of them will be designed in SketchUp. I personally think SketchUp's terrible for 3D printing because you can make things that aren't completely manifold, which means they're not watertight. Imagine you're filling up a design with water and it leaks everywhere. That's bad for a 3D printer. You can have zero thickness surfaces, intersecting shells, just all sorts of nightmarish things. Joel's don't dare cut that hair.
See? Popular opinion.
All right.
Keep those luscious locks, baby.
I need more gel. I need to be like, spike it up. I can't do Joel hair. I'm sorry. I'm never going to be as cool as you, Joel. 14 Mew, $5. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it. And your DP is adorable. It's so cute. Right. Is Joel drunk? Is Joel drunk? That's a good question. Maybe just drunk on tiredness. He's been always so busy. I don't know how you do it.
Soren asks, when will I be able to buy stocks in Makers Muse?
Stocks in Makers Muse. Well, currently it's a sole trader, so a while. Let's just say I'm not publicly listed yet. We are going through a big kind of pivot though at the moment because YouTube's showed their hand in the fact that they don't give a crap about creators. And luckily in the education space we haven't really been affected, but it's a bit of a wake-up call. So we're currently re-evaluating our future, but we're always going to be making free content at Makers Muse on YouTube. And I finally trademarked the name. So in Australia, Makers Muse is a legit trademark now. It's protected. Matthew's assembling a TiVo while watching. That's an awesome idea. I love the idea of people assembling machines while watching this. JLC print tolerance model. I assume you're talking about this thing. So I released this on Patreon because I'm not prepared to release it publicly yet. It's still not perfect. It's quite material intensive. It wastes a lot of material. It's quite heavy. And the little knobs that turn it, they're not strong enough, so they break off too easy, I suppose. I want to give the tolerance a bit of a chance to free up. So I'm redesigning it, and then you'll see a new version. There'll be a video on it, and then I'll release that. It might still be $1, though. I'm not sure. I might release 2 versions. Also, it's just a bit too big to spin as well. I'm trying to make it so it's like a fidget spinner kind of idea as well. Yeah, more to come on that. Feel free to design your own, though, based off that idea. I use Fusion 360, and I just use the offset command in Sketch to offset the different distances.
Okay, well, thanks to Nailhead for the $20 donation.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
They say they love the content of your channel, your tutorials and attention to detail are greatly appreciated.
Oh, cheers. I really do appreciate that. Thank you, Nailhead. I do try to spend as much time as I can looking into the details of things. It's become a little bit more interesting now that there's so much going on, but that's what I always try to bring to you. The nitty-gritty, I suppose. I try to aim my content at people who would appreciate that, not just an overall, this is a 3D printer. And that sort of thing. I want to go into the details of what I like and don't like.
And to interrupt you, on that point actually, a couple of them are asking about tutorials based on the Fusion 360. Like, are you going to do any basic tutorials? Are you going to do any crash courses? Like, what's your plan with that?
Absolutely, yes. So Fusion, on Patreon, you guys who support me on there, thank you so much. I had a goal to make a CAD for newbies tutorial, which has been reached. Again, thank you. So I can invest time into Fusion. And I've already started that series. I've got the how to draw a maker coin, which are these basic things. And then I did the Easter egg, and there's a lot more coming in that sort of basic series. I'm going to be going through every feature. So the idea is a project that revolves around a feature. So there's going to be, how to use Revolve, how to use Loft, how to use Sweep. I recently did a video on patches. So eventually it's going to reach up to the point where you can do really hardcore stuff in a very detailed project, but it's going to start from simple stuff. So I've already started that, and just keep an eye out for that. it's in its own playlist as well. So there's only 2 there at the moment, aimed at beginners, but it's going to get more complicated. As Fusion can't be got for free, you can absolutely just download it as a trial. And then when the trial finishes, you need to like register it. Just say you're a student or you're a startup. Obviously, don't lie. If you're like a multi-million-dollar turnover company, please pay for Fusion. But if you are a student, you can get it for free. And if you're a startup where I think you're turning over less than 100,000 a year, which I certainly am, then you can get it for free as well. They're really good. I'm really happy with Autodesk's approach with that. It makes sense. And even if you do want to pay for it, it's not that expensive. So they're certainly doing the thing. They're doing right by the community, in my opinion, unlike what Onshape did and SolidWorks so far.
So Sedina Swafford asks, I think a good free program you may like is Blender. I personally don't use Autodesk after a bad situation with the lack of communication with users. So you have used Blender before, correct?
Yeah, Blender is... I guess if you've been involved in 3D modeling, you'll be familiar with Blender and stuff like ZBrush and all that. 3D Max. It's a different kind of modeling. I am not trained in that sort of modeling. I'm trained in parametric modeling, sketch-based, where I can go back and alter a hole size and everything will update with offsets. So you're never really going to see a Blender tutorial on Makers Muse, unfortunately, just because it's not how I'm trained. And I would do the software a disservice by trying to do tutorials on it because I don't know how to use it properly. So absolutely, there's loads of channels on YouTube on how to use Blender. If that's more your thing, if you want to design characters and monsters and awesomely detailed figurines, spaceships, that sort of stuff, Blender's awesome. And it's definitely worth checking out. But for me, I'm not going to design a fidget spinner in Blender, for example. Omicron's asking, what kind of music do you like? If it's electronic music, please check out my channel. Yeah, I actually make my own music as well, which is why I've got a keyboard down here. I tend to make hardstyle and stuff, but not so much anymore because I don't have time, unfortunately.
Okay, so a question I've picked up is from Boombrush. Angus, have you tried any virtual reality, VR? I think that's what the VR stands for.
VR, virtual reality. No, I haven't. I tried Google Glass when it came out, but I want to try like Vive and all that, but I can't afford to buy it. And every time we go into the city where they've got like the Microsoft store, there's just a line, and the idea of wearing a headset that a million people have worn before me, it's disgusting. So no, I haven't really dabbled much into it yet. I really want to. I absolutely want to, but the cost to get involved, like I'd have to upgrade my entire system because the graphics is not powerful enough, is just too high for me. Sadly, I really like the stuff Devon's been doing. Again, I'm shouting out to Devon heaps, but he's been doing VR modeling on his channel on Make Anything, and that's awesome. But I can't afford the gear, even if it was a tax write-off. Eagle, did I get a Form 2? Yes, that is a Form 2, and I don't get to keep it, but I do get to use it for a little while. It's currently not powered on or anything. I need to set it up. 3D print a VR headset, I did that. I did 3D print a kit a while ago, which uses your phone, again, using Google Glass. It wasn't that great. You can print them, absolutely, but Google Glass is a bit, meh. It's, not Google Glass, what am I saying? Google Cardboard, sorry. Google Cardboard VR is, not as great as what I'd like to do with Vive, for example.
Some questions?
Yep.
Well, based on a little bit what you're talking about before, Zara asks, is there any way we can listen to your music? You still use Spotify, don't you?
SoundCloud. Yeah, so if you search Angus Devison SoundCloud, you'll find mine. All the music you hear on Makers Muse is made by me. So that way I don't have to pay copyright or licensing. And my videos won't get striked. But I haven't, again, there's not much on there. I tend to protect my assets, so like the backing track in my songs isn't released, for example, because that's how I like to keep my videos unique. But yeah, if I do release like a scratch track or something, it'll be on there.
You're a double for Keanu Reeves observation.
We should take the red pill or the blue pill.
Whichever you want. baby. I got a 3D printing related question. So, Angus, would you create another one-on-one series for print fails and how to fix them and how they look? Things like under and over extrusions and other problems.
Yes. So the 3D Printing 101 video series has been a lot focused on Slicer, specifically Simplify 3D, because they do sponsor a lot of those videos. But I do want to push more into the actual machine side of things. And I'm just finishing up an ebook, which is 50 3D printing tips and tricks, which has a massive section on maintenance as well. But yeah, I do want to do expand the 101 series into basic maintenance and that sort of thing as well. So yes, I want to. Whether I have time soon or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's how I want to take the channel, into ways that I can help you guys and that sort of thing. Keep your machines going. And Zah, thank you so much. Yes, hardstyle. Look, I haven't done much music for a long time. Not as much as I used to do when I was in uni and high school, because just I had more time then. But it's not as good as professional stuff. I'll be honest, that getting the kick right is impossible. I suck at kicks. I'm good at melodies. So yeah, just head on to SoundCloud and you'll find some stuff there. So Makers Muse, Angus Deverson, SoundCloud. Right. Sorry to go off track for you guys who don't care about music. Cool. Any other questions? I hear frantic typing. Willet's asking, have I printed any models using Sculptress? Yes, I used to do an entire, what was it? Like a 3D printing club at a high school using Sculptress. And it's fantastic. You just usually have to consider fixing the files afterwards. You export as an OBJ, then you need to kind of usually repair them using Mesh Mixer or Windows, the 3D Builder in Windows 10. And then you can print them. Yeah. So it's very good and it's really easy to use. It's like virtual clay. It's really fun. Usually everyone makes monsters. That's usually the first thing people make. Or in the case of year 7 kids, they'll just swirl the triangles around and make an impossible geometry mess. You've been told never to mention narwhals in your presence again.
And
in Bronze's. What did you reply?
Oh, I've got many other songs in my stash to annoy.
Yeah, it's like a war between us two, finding the most annoying things on the internet.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with someone just said, damn, the chat moves too fast.
Yeah, the chat does move quite fast.
So, I'm just picking a question here. Is glue stick, hairspray, and other adhesives only for a glass bed? I have a build tack like build plate.
Okay, so glue stick is really only if you need it. If you have build tack, there's no reason you should need glue stick. It's like, even clean glass you can print on, but if you have trouble, use glue stick. But no, don't use glue stick on build tack. You shouldn't need it. If it's not sticking, something else is wrong. Like your layer height's off. Yeah, the chat's crazy.
Okay, so got some notes here.
Mm-hmm.
So Mitchell Hirsch says, my son loves your channel. Could you please say hi, Dylan, to make him feel special?
Hi, Dylan. Thanks for watching Makers Muse.
I also just want to point out, I unfortunately won't be asking Angus any questions regarding which 3D printer should I get, or like, should I get the N8 or the Tarantula?
Yeah, I cannot comment on which machine you should personally buy. And again, to reiterate this, because I don't know your financial situation, I don't know what you're trying to print, I don't know your skill level, I don't know where in the world you're based, and yeah, there's so many factors, I can't make that call for you. And I don't have experience with the A-Net-A yet, so I definitely can't make the call for that. And my experience with the Tarantula is outdated. So that's how it goes.
Zar asks, any tricks on getting a more accurate estimated print time from Simplify 3D? It drives me nuts.
Oh, thanks for the $5, Zar. Yeah, no, it's pretty inaccurate, but that's due to acceleration differences in the printer itself. So I tend to add time to it, and I don't know what the percentage would be, but it tends to underestimate in my experience. And the same goes for Cura as well. Anything that spits out a time estimate doesn't take into account the machine's acceleration, which is in the firmware anyway, so it does vary. So yeah, I don't know what the most accurate slicer would be, and I don't know if there's any way to calibrate it to reflect a printer better. The up slicer tends to be pretty close, but again, it tends to underestimate. I think that's just a general thing. So I would add like, I don't know, a percentage. If something says it's going to take 6 hours, usually it takes 7 for me. Something like that. Again, printer. It depends on the printer. Simon, what's my oldest printer and how many do I have? The first printer I ever bought was an Up Mini, which cost me $1,300 Australian about 4.5 years ago when they first came out. And that's still here in the corner. I did have a second one, which I gave to a friend. And that machine never let me down. Amazing. I was still using it up to a year ago. So, yeah, that's my oldest one.
Now I've got a question from Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
What does Angus think of SCARA type machines? I'm making one right now to replace my Tarantula.
SCARA. You mean like a SCARA 3D printer? Yeah, I don't know. Any of those orbital axes, I mean, to explain to people what a SCARA design is, you have rotating axes instead of linear axes. So you have like a sort of arc of a 3D printing range. And I've never really thought there'd be a great 3D printer because your accuracy is when you go further out, you have a motor in the middle, the accuracy is lower than it is closer to the middle because of the distance the arm has to travel versus the steps of the motor. So the maths behind it is ridiculous. I don't do math very well, but I've always found them amazing for industrial applications like pick and place and moving. But for 3D printing, I don't know. I mean, prove me wrong, absolutely. But I've always thought linear axes would be a better application for 3D printing.
Okay. And this question you normally get for most of your streams,
Mm-hmm.
but I always think it's a good question to revisit, is good 3D modeling software for free?
All right, I need to update that video. I've done one a while ago about free 3D printing software, 3D modeling software, but my top picks, guys, would be Tinkercad. If you've never used 3D CAD before, it's free, it's online, it's amazing. Fusion 360, watch tutorials. I do videos on it. I love Fusion. And the new kid on the block is Vectory. So go over to XYZ Aiden on YouTube. He's awesome. Aiden's a great kid, and he has done a video on Vectory. It's a really neat looking bit of software, and that's free on the cloud as well. Those would be my top 3 picks. They're all free. Just with Fusion, you need to tell them at the end of your trial period that you're a student or you're earning under 100,000 because you're a startup. Not Sleepy. Angus, what is your real life job? Dude, this is my real life job now. I spend every day, all day, 3D printing, testing, and making videos and producing educational content. I used to do it in person for training at schools. I used to work at a 3D printing studio. Now I do it for you guys online, and I love it.
He lives and breathes 3D printing.
How late was I up last night working on content?
1 a.m.?
Yeah.
And I guess that was pretty early for you, actually.
Yeah, and that's a Saturday. The concept of weekends doesn't exist for me anymore. I do this constantly. I mean, look at my desk. Like, look at just content. There's just 3D prints everywhere. Joel. Dude.
Thanks.
Go catch a nice meal together. You're both some of my favorite people. Oh, Joel, thank you so much. Joel, the 3D printing nerd, is one of the sweetest people I know. If you're not subscribed to the 3D printing nerd, come on, like, who are you? If you're interested in anything to do with 3D printing or just Joel's sexy voice.
And I will have to agree, 1 a.m. amateur, says Joel.
Yeah, I've got nothing on Joel when it comes to how much time he invests in his channel. You know, full-time job, kids, still manage to make awesome content. This is my job, and I'm lagging behind you, dude.
How many printers are in your possession?
That's a good question. I don't currently know. Yeah, that's a horrible answer. But basically, a lot of the machines I have tested that I do own are currently in storage because there's just no room. But a lot of machines I test also go back to the manufacturer, or I give them to people to use, kind of an indefinite loan kind of thing. So at the moment, I probably have around 15 or so. but I have had more in the past, and about 3 of those 15 need to get returned at some point. In this room right now, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 10 in this room. That's a lot of printers.
Too many printers.
2 of them are getting returned though.
Only 2.
Yeah.
Have to find them a loving new home somehow.
Yeah, no, I do though. I mean, if I know someone quite well and I know that they're going to take care of a machine and they're not going to ask me for advice every 5 seconds on how to keep it running, yeah, I give machines away all the time. It's good to see them get used.
Oh, okay, well, Joel has to go. He has to go catch dinner with his family. Well, thank you so much for turning up. It's always appreciated, Joel.
Yeah, thank you so much, dude. You enjoy your family time, and I will enjoy my meal time with Lady Muse. Dimitri's asking, is Fusion 360 similar to Inventor? Kind of. I mean, they're both Autodesk products, and they kind of had the same workflow, like orbital menu style of thing, but Inventor's a lot more powerful. Fusion's kind of a bit shotgun approach right now. You've got lots of different things you can do in it, but it's not as powerful for 3D modeling as Inventor. The plus side, I can't get Inventor for free because I'm not a student, but I can get Fusion 360 for free because I'm a startup. Whereas if you are a student, you can get Inventor for free. But I'm not going to do tutorials on it because I can't get it.
Okay, I got some questions.
Yes, questions please.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Wiz, who's been asking a couple of questions in chat regarding 3D printing and Braille. So they've just done a super chat. Can you make a skateboard or trucks or wheels for a Braille skateboarding? So want to see a Makers Muse board on Braille? Maybe collab with Joel or Chuck?
Oh, okay. I do like Braille skateboarding as a channel. Honestly, I think they've already had their fair share of 3D printed boards and parts. I can't see a truck working. The truck part of a skateboard needs to be incredibly strong. That's why they usually cast metal. I can't see a 3D printed... I can't see an injection molded plastic truck working, to be honest. Wheels, though, maybe. I did consider sending them some polycarbonate wheels, because the 3D printed wheels I've been sent before suck, usually. But, yeah, again, it's just time, matter of time. Maybe when I'm over there, we'll do something and send them across. It's really expensive to send stuff from Australia. Really, really expensive.
Okay, another one. From Israel Main. Advice on mass production for retail sale. I'm thinking on using Flashboard Creator Pro for printing all day long. So you have had experiences with 3D printing in retail. So what are your thoughts on the subject?
I'm so going to say something you don't want to hear. Basically, don't do it. Because 3D printing is not designed for mass production. I used to work at a 3D printing studio, 2 actually, over several years. And you look at a print, say, let's say this one, random off my desk. That took 2 hours at 0.2 millimeter height, maybe 1.5 if I was lucky, printing fast. And a client would have rejected it because the bottom quality isn't very good. So if you're printing off 3D printers, it's really, in my experience, unless you're spending a lot of money on a high-end machine, it's designed for prototyping. So what I would do is wrap it up as a feature ad. You're designing for something, they have an idea, you 3D print the prototypes. Not so much printing on demand. You can do that, but in my experience now, it's just printers are so cheap, no one values it. No one values the effort that goes into it. And yeah, I'm sorry. The FlashForge, any of the low-end 3D printers, even a Prusa Mark II will be good, but once you start flogging it for production, it'll start breaking down, and then you'll be having to reprint things all the time. Sorry. That's my professional advice. I'm not trying to stop people doing it. I'm just saying it's a world of pain unless you get the proper, like a Stratasys U-print, which then you have to pay off.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to just go through some of the super chat questions and then just polish some of the remaining questions I have here. So JT asks, hello Angus, I need help with plastic build-up. So have you done any videos regarding that?
Plastic build-up?
Yeah, around the nozzle, I think it was.
I know what you mean. Yeah, so if your nozzle is having material stuck to it and like around the hot end and stuff, and you want to get rid of that, warm it up, and then you can use a scraper or even just a paper towel to just remove the molten crap. Don't leave it on there because it'll start charring and burning. But to stop that happening, there's various ways. You can cover your hot end in Kapton tape. You can even cover the nozzle in Kapton to stop it sticking to it, or you can use something like an E3D sock, which insulates it and stops it sticking. That shouldn't be occurring though, unless your prints are warping up and failing and sticking to the nozzle. I have had it happen if prints failed and I haven't seen it, but during normal operation, that really shouldn't be happening. If it is, then something's wrong with your settings or your print surface or that sort of thing. Someone said this is an ANET A8 part. It may well be, but this is actually from a JG Aurora A3, which I think is just, again, a clone of the original Prusa's. It's just a different clone, and I am reviewing that machine. When they sent it to me, it had PLA parts, and I tried to assemble it, and the PLA parts exploded. So I had to reprint these parts, basically.
So next one is from that 3D print guy.
Mm-hmm.
How much cleanup and prep does the mower need between prints? And here's the said, saw the way from Lady Muse.
Nice. I just missed a super chat from that 3D print guy as well. Oh, yeah, no, you just read it.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. The Moai doesn't need much prep in itself. Basically, the print, you've got the print tray at the bottom, then you've got the print surface at the top. That needs to be clean, make sure there's no hardened resin on it. But between that, you pop the print off, make sure there's nothing left on it, and then you just go again. But it's more the post-processing of that print that's just tedious and messy, because you need to then take that print and put it into isopropyl or methylated spirits, and then clean it and then harden it. But the machine itself, you can pop the prints off, then hit go again. It's actually really easy to do, which is what I've been doing. You don't have to do too much on the machine itself to get it ready to print again.
Oh, goodness. Getting a lot of good questions here, Storm.
Yeah, this is great. I'm enjoying this. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I'm really enjoying this. As I said at the start of this stream, this is the last one I'm going to do before Bay Area Maker Fair. So if you're going to be there or at the Matter Hackers meetup, I am super keen to catch up. So come say hi. Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for Peter Larson, who donated $10, and thanks you for your work.
Oh, thank you.
And the next question is from Infomizer. What is your favorite project at the moment?
Project I'm working on?
Yes. Working on, have worked on, like, what is the favorite?
Favorite? I don't know. I'm working on a video which will be out next weekend, which involves some very interesting experimental 3D forms. Well, not so much experimental, just mathematically driven 3D forms that have an interesting property. I'm not going to give much away, but they roll, but they're not spheres. That's been loads of fun, learning how they work. I like experimenting with things and trying stuff like this. This is another video I'm working on. When I did the dual color collab with Joel, I did the fusion video and then he did the printing video. And people were like, actually my dad was like, Angus, why don't you just like figure out a way to do it with one printer and one extruder? So I did that. And this is basically, getting a sneak peek here, but basically two parts with a bit of tolerance that print separately and then you just snap them together and you end up with a dual color maker coin, even though I don't have a dual color 3D printer. I love trying things and then quickly iterating them and seeing if they work. So that's currently what I'm working on. And as I said before, I'm working on an eBook, which has been a lot of my time, which is all the 3D printing tips and tricks. Yeah, Philo knows what I'm talking about. I've been printing loads of different types of those things, and you'll see the video on it next weekend.
Next question.
Yes, go.
Okay, so Philo had asked, is demand for commercialization ruining the open source community in 3D printing, or is everyone learning from MakerBot?
That's a fantastic question, actually. So I was discussing this the other day with a friend, and they wanted advice on what 3D printer to get. And I know their situation a bit. They're a designer. They design prototypes for testing their ideas for industrial design and then before manufacturing. And I was like, you know what? I would almost recommend the Prusa i3 Mark II over another machine 3 times the price. And I'm trying to think to myself, why would that be the case? Why am I thinking that way for a machine that's essentially an open source rep wrap? And then you start to think, what Joseph has done is he has persevered when MakerBot gave up. So like RepRap and MakerBot were both open, the Prusa and MakerBot were both open source based off the RepRap project. and they went their own paths. MakerBot closed source, and we all saw what happened to that. Prusa persisted and stayed open, and now he is able to, he's got a 7-week lead time on these machines, and they print great. He's got Slicer working so much better than it ever was before, and I use Slicer now on the Prusa exclusively. I don't use anything else. It's actually really interesting because he's made it work. So he is living proof that it works. Another company that's living proof that it works is Aleph Objects, the LOLs bots. They are open source hardware, and they're still super popular. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that they're still shining when other companies who have closed are dying off. And I think these companies who did that are learning. Like Zortrax have recently made their software accept custom material profiles. Like before it was locked down, like the ups were. Again, the ups have changed. They're trying to make it so you can have custom G code. Yeah, I think open is winning actually at this stage. It's really interesting.
Okay, next question. So I'm trying my best to prioritize super chats, but also to keep the questions flowing from the general audience, just trying to mix it up nicely.
Yeah, Lady Muse is doing her best, guys. Thank you for being patient.
Absolutely. Okay, so Mew asked, the one with the cute display picture.
Oh, yes.
So I own a closed source FlashForge clone and restricted to Print Studio and Mesh Mixer for support. I think that means restricted.
Yeah.
There are any other type in those tree structures?
I know what you're talking about.
There we go.
That sucks that you can't add support structures in your software. I don't know if you'd be restricted. You might still be able to use other software. Is it Flash Print? If it's Flash Print, you used to be able to change it to line support from tree. It used to be able to let you do line support and tree support. But yeah, if you can use Flash Print, then you can change it to line support. Or you used to be able to. Again, it's been a while. But there's no software I know that will let you make normal support externally in the STL file. That's only for tree supports. Sorry, that's not a really clear answer. I'm not really exactly sure on what your machine can take. But it's usually custom. It's usually pretty standard G code, so you can probably hack something into working with it, like Cura or Slicer, most likely. But again, sorry, I don't know much more. Cool. And
just having a look. So some people asked a similar question regarding what was the most frustrating print you ever encountered, and also which is the print you've had the most failure rate? Like you keep trying, and it just kept failing.
Print or printer?
No, print.
Print. Ugh. So many when I was working in Perth. So I used to work at a 3D printing studio in Perth, and we had the original UP 3D printers. And they would print in ABS, they were open frame, and they would just warp horribly. So I would get these jobs in, like printing this massive puzzle shape of a number, and I had to design it in SolidWorks. We had a SolidWorks license, which was nice. And then print it, so each part was, say, yay big, and they wanted 7 of these, and each part had 7 blocks in it. I'd get 1 out of 3 that would work, probably. Most of them would warp, the filament would jam, the machine would overheat because I put it in a box. Nightmarish. And this is like a customer that didn't give a crap about the technology. They just wanted these parts miraculously made overnight. Probably took about 150 hours worth of printing in the end, and they were unhappy with the result. Just, that was like the last straw. I was like, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah, that was probably the most frustrating print job I've done.
Hey, apparently my audio is sounding a bit funny, so just want to make sure that people can still hear me all right. So can people in the chat let me know if there's anything wrong with my audio?
Might be a bit quiet. I turned her up a little bit. I've turned Lady Muse up slightly.
Those poor souls.
Robbie was saying we just bought 4 Prusa i3 Mark IIs for our Makerspace. Awesome choice. Although I will say, with the Prusa i3 Mark IIs, they're fragile beasts. So in a makerspace, very much only let people who you know will treat them well touch them, because they can be broken quite easily. They're still made out of PLA. They don't like being transported. So yeah, I don't know, have some sort of deposit system or something, so if something breaks, you can get it paid for. So you don't want to come back to a machine that's trash and then like no one owns up to it. That'll be a nightmare. Audio is weird. Yeah, okay, I'm not sure if it's my audio or not. 2 mics. It's a bit tin-like. Yeah, sorry, Lady Muse has a headset because she's too far away from the condenser mic.
Okay, it might be better now since you turned it up.
Okay.
Oh, I have echo on my audio. This is so complicated.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It is 2 microphones. Anyway. Okay.
I can always turn my mic off down and just ask questions very loudly.
No, it's fine. I've got a auto gate, noise gate on her microphone, so it shouldn't be too bad. I think you're just talking louder and louder. Anyway. It's fine. It'll do.
Oh, well, here's a question. So Robbie asked, what is your favorite filament for mechanical parts?
Oh, it's because you're looking at me when you're talking.
Oh,
Yeah. Favorite filament for mechanical parts would be the PC Max polycarbonate. That is absolutely insanely very good, made by Polymaker. You do need a heated bed for it. It's printed like 270 degrees Celsius, but it is indestructible. Watch my robot project I did on it, my off-road robot. That's just awesome. It's so strong.
Want another question?
Yes.
So John Carver asked earlier, can you cover making meta material designs?
Meta.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means, sorry. Do you mean multi-material designs? In which case, yes, but I don't have any multi-filament extruders, dual extrusion systems, unfortunately, right now. So hopefully in the future, but that's why I did stuff like that, which is combined into one, with one extruder, because I don't have any dual extruder machines. West is saying your super chat never got answered. Sorry, I completely missed it. West asked a question, apparently.
Which question was this?
I don't know. Sorry, West, I didn't even see it. Please ask again. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep track of it. Ravi's asking, Hobby King PLA versus eSun PLA. Honestly, in my experience, both are almost identical in terms of performance. They're cheap PLAs, they get brittle over time, but they work fine.
Hey, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite filament brand for the moment?
Yeah, I mean, again, filament guys, I just use whatever I've got around. I've said before, Hobby King's good because it's cheap. If I want something really high-end, I'll use probably Polymaker. Polymaker's probably the best for my high-end printing. I need strength. Yeah. I don't know. I just use whatever I've got. I haven't really had an issue with filament for a long time.
Yeah, so I think West will repeat the question.
Oh, okay. I'll repeat it. Cool. Slicer crash course. Find Slicer confusing AF. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I might incorporate Slicer more into my 3D Printing 101 videos because I am using it more. I did have to learn it again myself. It isn't too user-friendly, but it is very powerful and it's not too difficult to use. So I might well do that.
Yeah, another question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever 3D printed onto fabric or another substrate? I've seen it done for shoes recently. Would like to try.
Yeah, I haven't. I've done some experience with fabric printing, but I haven't done too much on it. I know that Preston over at Press Reset did a tutorial on printing onto a t-shirt. You definitely can do it. There's just a few steps you need to keep in mind with adhesion and all that. Yeah, it's one of those things I've wanted to experiment with more, but again, haven't had time. You definitely can do it though. Check out Preston's video.
Okay, so West asked, what is the most middle of the road printer? Good quality and versatility. So I think that's like, what is the best,
Well, I mean, how long's a piece of string? It depends on your budget, it depends on what you want and how big you want to print. I mean, I love the Up Mini, for example, Up Mini 2. It's a fantastic machine for $800 Australian or so. Yeah, I think it's about that much. But it's got only a tiny print volume and it really likes to print ABS, but it works well for me printing stuff like that. But for you, it might not be suitable. So that's why I do the reviews. It's to inform, but not to do the decision. So show you what you might be expecting. It's my opinion, and then you can make an informed decision from that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying my best with keeping up, and I will improve over time. So, because I'm back in the game, and I'm going to be helping Angus more frequently again. So,
Yeah.
it will improve.
Yeah, so if I miss super chats, it's just I just didn't see them. I do apologize. You can ask the question again, but I might not have seen it.
Infamizer asks, can you make a video on your favorite 3D printed home appliances?
Home appliances?
I love my 3D printed kettle.
That'd be a terrible idea. 3D printed kettle, you turn it on, it just melts. Yeah, see, 420 saying, up mini really, DaVinci's are better and cheaper. See, it's all opinion. That's your opinion. And that's fine. But that's why I don't tell people what to buy. It's opinion. I like the Mini too. You like the DaVinci. That's totally fine. I'm not going to have a fight about it. I'm not going to argue about it. It's what everyone wants for their own personal use.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
So Rolf just asked, I was thinking about getting into 3D printing for designing Rubik's like puzzles. Do you think people would buy designs like this? Like, what is your thought on it?
Again, printing on demand, guys. Very cautious. Use it for prototyping and then see how it goes. If people like it, maybe consider doing a crowdfunding campaign if you can protect the idea. And maybe if you want to just keep it 3D printed, put it on Shapeways, people can buy it and they print it on demand with high-end systems. Or see if you can license to a company to print it, to make it mass production. I would not commit to printing something repeatedly, because best case, it's really popular. You need to have like 100,000 of them made and each print takes 10 hours. You're screwed. 3D printing very quickly becomes a pain in the ass when you need to make lots of the same thing. It's not very suitable. Joel's super chat's still there. Yeah, it is. He did donate $50. That is pretty nuts.
Added his 2 cents about the 3D printed kettle, which you might be able to make a microwave 3D printed kettle with annealable filament if you don't mind risk getting poisoned.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat or drink anything out of plastic made on a 3D printer. Yeah, annealing filament is an interesting idea. I haven't tried myself yet, but even if it was temporarily strong enough to resist the temperature, I wouldn't eat or, yeah. It's going to trap microbes between the layers. It's not a great idea.
Okay. Let's see. Kid Rambo asked pre-assembled printers or kits or do-it-yourself printers?
Yeah, it's just that again. What do you prefer? If you have time, make a kit. If you have time and it's a hobby and you have lots of money, design your own. If you want something that just prints within 15 minutes, buy an assembled machine. It's the world is your oyster. It's a whole section in my 3D printer buyer's guide ebook on kits versus ready to run. It's time versus money, basically. How much is your time worth? If your time worth nothing and you want to spend time building something, then yeah, get a kit. But if your time's valuable, don't get a kit because you're going to be wasting your own time and wasting money by assembling it. M3SCA1, how do you even say that? PETG is food safe? Yeah, I'm sure it is. But the problem is 3D printing has layers, and between the layers, bacteria can get trapped. That's the danger. So it might be safe initially, but over time that bacteria builds up, and that's where the dangers come from. Custom creations, no, I have not tried the Creality CR10. I, again, don't have room for any more machines. But the heaps of people have tried it. I think Dustin over the Japman, I think he's tried it. And also Preston over at Press Reset has had very high regards of it. If you ask questions with a million exclamation marks and question marks after it, I'm going to intentionally ignore it, sorry.
I might put you in the time box, actually.
Yeah, that's spamming, basically. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm sorry. This question, he's been asking this question for, I think, almost an hour.
Okay.
What type of pie do you like? I mean, props to you for persistence, mate.
Type of pie? Are you talking about like raspberry pies or actual pies? I like apple pies. And I like the orange pie, which is a Raspberry Pi clone, which is a cheap all-in-one computer, which you can also run Octoprint on. There you go, answering both. And unfortunately, no, Dimitri, Lady Muse is not going to Banff. Unfortunately, sad face.
He is abandoning me.
There was no money. We need to get more. Need to get more support for the October one in New York Maker Fair. Then I'll bring Lady Muse. That would be awesome.
Okay, so here's a question from Kemane's Paint. So a question for Angus regarding Polymaker, assuming it wouldn't put you on the spot with them. So I guess that means answer this if you want or don't want to.
Yeah.
Aside from the marketing terminology, what's the difference between their plus and max designations?
Okay, so for Polymaker, I assume you're talking about PC Plus and PC Max. PC Plus was a previous formulation of their polycarbonates, and then PC Max is their, I suppose, newest formulation of polycarbonates. The PC Plus is still really strong. The differences are it's easier to print slightly than PC Max, but PC Max has the highest strength. I assume that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about their like Polymax PLA, for example, that's strengthened PLA, and it's really good, but it's just PLA. Whereas the PC Plus and PC Max, they're their polycarbonates, but the PC Max is the one to go for. That's the newest one. You might find suppliers still have the PC Plus, but in my experience, PC Max is what you want. Again, difficult to print, very hard to print. You need a heated chamber basically for it to work. Ashley T is asking, what are my thoughts on YouTube Red? If they asked you to make a series of some sort, would you? So YouTube Red, in my opinion, for creators like me, is kind of useless because it's more for entertainment. People who view YouTube as if it's like Netflix, I suppose. They want to remove the ads and have series. I'm working on video courses, so the idea behind that is it's going to be training classes, and that's external to YouTube because I can control it better and present it better. And YouTube's always going to... I'm always viewing YouTube as a platform where I put up content for free. I mean, it's ad supported and you can support me through Patreon, but it's not... I'm not going to charge you for it on YouTube. And YouTube Red, in my opinion, yes, it removes ads. You're more than welcome to do it, but I don't see them ever asking me to do a series. I'd be more inclined to do it myself. But I tend to do things myself anyway.
Having a look.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's just a nice simple question. You get this now and again, but it's always fun to answer.
Yeah, go for it.
Is what did you study at uni?
Okay. So I studied industrial design at university, mostly because they had a very cool workshop, and I wanted to use their workshop to build cool stuff. And then over the 4 years of doing it, I learned how to 3D model in SolidWorks, how to create concepts, how to do commercialization plans, how to talk to clients, how to present, and that sort of thing, and how to use 3D printers because we had them for prototyping purposes. But at the time, they were really expensive. So for my final year, I focused on 3D printing as it became lower cost and more accessible. And then I designed a cake icing 3D printer for my major project, which may or may not worked. It was okay. It was made out of crap because I didn't have any money. But then, yeah, I got hooked, basically. So that's how I got involved in 3D printing with the industrial design background.
Okay, I've got 2 super chat stuff.
Yep, go for
So
it.
the first one is from Zara St. Louis, who's been very generous. I mean, a lot of the guys have been very generous.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great night, guys. See you on the next Patreon stream.
Cool. All right. See you later, Zara. Appreciate it.
And apparently Teach sent a super chat earlier, but unfortunately it got lost.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked, would you recommend against me buying a Fabricator Mini version 2? Is there any known problems?
So I was meant to have a version 2, Fabricator Mini version 2 on the way here, and I'm not sure where it's gone. I like the original one. The biggest issue is the print volume. I mean, it's really pretty much a toy at that size. You can print small stuff. It's a good price, but it's really small. So I would be inclined to look for a slightly bigger machine, like the Cetus, for example, which has a much larger print volume for not too much more. Well, it's $350 US, but you're getting a lot more value. And there's no There's no interface on either machines. They're both Wi-Fi enabled, so they're similar in that aspect. But it's just the print volume's really going to be limiting. But if you're getting like loads of them, then that's okay because you can print each student work on each printer, and parallel printing is quick. If one goes down for maintenance, it's okay because you have multiples. But yeah, it's small. That's the only thing. But I haven't tested one in person. There's a few people who've put up previews. I think Chuck Hellebuck on his channel, he wasn't too happy with the initial prints, but I think it's just a slicing thing. It looks nice. It looks durable, much more durable than the original, which was laser cut plastic. This one's metal, so it looks a bit more sturdy, I'd say.
Yeah, I've got a couple of good questions here.
Yeah.
So first one, absolute fun question. Must ask this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon? Asked Dalton. Mine is Eevee, and there seems to be a general agreement of how awesome Eevee is.
Eevee's pretty popular. I'll be honest. I haven't played a Pokemon game for so long. But
Don't worry, guys. I know his favorite Pokemon.
Yeah.
Flaffy.
I love the lamb one. That was like Pokemon Silver, wasn't it? Or yeah, what
Yeah.
Silver? The electric sheep. That was my favorite one because it evolved into this strange giraffe thing. Yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Flaffy.
Okay. Let's see. So Palumi asked a pretty good question. Where do you see 3D printing as an industry going? There's work with furniture and making entire buildings now. Do you see that taking off long term? That's always a fun question.
Sorry, it's echoing when she faces the mic, so no facing the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, look, 3D printing architecture and that sort of thing, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I think it has serious limitations, serious things to overcome. I see it being more and more incorporated into education because you can learn through doing. I think it's called kinesthetic learning. You learn through physical doing things. That's how I learn. So 3D printing lets you print a concept instead of just looking at it on a whiteboard. So that's where I see it being really useful. And also medical, it's becoming really good for medical models. So that's the value in it. I don't honestly think houses are going to be 3D printed anytime soon because you can't put the reinforcing structures in, at least yet. And yeah, I mean, the hype's gone, let's be honest. The hype for 3D printing's gone. No one's going to be at home printing stuff instead of buying it from the shop. But for education purposes, I think it's just going to be the strongest aspect of it.
Person says rapid.
Rapid prototyping, yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, it's always been for rapid prototyping, but I'm talking about rapid prototyping for education. So teaching people things by producing an object and teaching them iterative design by trying new things and testing them out.
Oh, okay. I've got a charged question here.
Go for it.
What would you say to the people that are scared of 3D printed guns?
Scared of 3D printed guns. I'd say they are very much driven by the media, and they're a little bit cheap in regards to that. It's dumb. Anyone who's ever been involved in 3D printing knows how dumb they are, know how dumb that concept is. But the media does what it does. It likes to attack various subcultures. So when a gun thing comes up and they can use 3D printing as a scapegoat, they use 3D printing as a scapegoat. Look, I'll be honest, 3D printing can be used for nefarious purposes. You can 3D print an ATM skimmer that looks like it's part of the ATM. That has happened before. That's a more nefarious use of 3D printing. 3D printed weapons is just stupid. And everyone knows it's stupid, but the media loves to use it anyway. And New South Wales is one of the only states in the world, in Australia as a country, where it's illegal to have 3D print blueprints of a gun. How you define that, I don't know. It was a knee-jerk law they put in place, and it's absolutely ridiculous. That's my opinion on it. There we go.
Okay, so again, a couple of questions.
Probably a couple more and then we'll finish up so we can go get some lunch.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty hungry.
Okay, so let's see. Which one?
I'll probably answer Stinger's one just quickly. I think. Oh wait, there's a super chat as well. So Major Iconic saying keep up the great content. Also Cocoon Create versus Prusa i3 Mark II. Thanks for Melbourne. Look, the price difference is ridiculous. If you want the extra features of the Prusa, which is the auto level, absolutely it's worth it. But look, the Cocoon Create's a fantastic machine as well, and it's cheap. So that's also a decent one. So it depends what your budget extends to. If you want the benefit of the auto leveling, then get the Prusa. But if you're okay to twizzle some auto level some screws yourself and level it manually, then yeah, it's totally a great machine to buy. So Stinger was asking, have I printed anything in nylon? So printing in nylon is a nightmare because it absorbs moisture from the air like that. So if you have a roll, you need to keep it in desiccant protected and then feed it into the machine. If it absorbs moisture, it'll pop and spit and your print will be all cloudy and gross and stringy, really stringy. But it also warps and it also needs a very high temperature. But if you can get it to work, you can get some really tough parts. I wouldn't say dimensionally accurate parts because nylon is soft, it's flexible, but it's tough. So if you're printing members and support beams and things which need flex to them and they need to never break, like you can run over them with your car, print in nylon. If you need accuracy and high strength, print in polycarbonate. That's a lot tougher. Sorry, it's a lot harder rather than just being tough and slightly flexible.
Okay, so
Radio.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 questions.
Okay,
here.
we're going to call it the 5 questions that Lady Muse has, guys.
Okay,
Go
so
for it.
Sarab, I think that's how you pronounce it, asks, will you be looking at other types of non-3D printers like CNCs or laser cutters? I apologize, this was a question that was asked quite a while back, but I thought it was a nice one.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I call the channel Makers Muse for a reason. It's not just about 3D printing. 3D printing is where it is right now, but I'm confident that as other technologies like laser cutters, CNC machines become lower cost and more affordable and more accessible, they're going to be incorporated more into the channel as other means of realizing your creativity through rapid manufacturing techniques. So yes, absolutely, there'll be more in the future, but right now 3D printing is where it's at. But as you can see, it's changing. Like it's FDM, and now this year we're seeing a lot more resin 3D printing. Who knows, we might start to see powder 3D printing. Then we might start to see more traditional machining as it gets more affordable and more easy to use.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
Infomizer, been asking a lot of questions as streams. Do you recommend looking or / editing pre-made 3D models to get familiar with 3D, with a modeling software?
So editing pre-made 3D.
Yeah, so editing pre-made 3D models to get familiar with a modeling software.
Yeah, look, when I do Fusion tutorials, I sometimes release the source files of that file, so you can look at how I've modeled it. But if you're looking at a STL file, there's not much editing you can do to it. So if you're looking at files that are designed for 3D printing, it's like trying to edit a PDF. It's a bit pointless. A lot of the features are gone. You can't change it very easily. But yeah, I try to release my source files so you can see how I've modeled something. But that's only if something's parametric and it has a feature tree where you can go back in time and look at how things were made. A lot of modeling software is more push-pull where you can't really go back in time. So it's a good approach in some ways, but I'd more recommend looking at tutorials and following on and doing it yourself as someone models something. That's probably the best way to learn.
Okay, so Ben in 3D asked a while ago, can you do a video on advanced geocode manipulation in Simplify 3D in the future?
Geocode?
Yeah.
I have no idea what geocode is.
Or G-code, maybe?
Oh, G-code manipulation.
Sorry, for some reason I thought there was an O there. Carry
That's
on.
all right. Yes, I can. There's not much manipulation you can do to G-code in Simplify 3D. Once you slice, that's it. So you can change your settings, but you can only view the G-code. Yeah. There's not too much you can do to the G-code once it's exported. That's about it. And Christopher just sent a $20 super chat. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Thanks for your videos. I just ordered my first 3D printer, the Prusa i3 Mark IIs. Oh, that's the new version. And got Fusion 360. I've been and will be watching all your 101 videos over and over again. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. There's a lot more 101 or CAD for newbies and 101 3D printing videos coming. That's a lot of them coming on this channel.
Okay.
All right, a couple more questions.
Yep. Got 3 left. So Sedina asked, any tips on how to transition from programs like Blender, which is mainly 3D, as you add objects to Fusion 360, which is the sketch-based you had mentioned? So.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. As I said earlier in the chat, earlier in the stream, going between the two is like thinking completely differently. Honestly, it's like starting from scratch. I'll be honest, there's not much. Like your mind will understand a 3D space, but it won't. It's hard to change your view from manipulating an object through push-pull to sketch-based. It's a lot more structured, and a lot of people don't like that. So give it a go. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with Blender if you're good at it. If you're good at using Blender, use the tools you can. I know a lot of people 3D model in Cinema 4D. It's not, the program for 3D printing, but a lot of people do it because they know it. So use the tools you're good at, and don't force yourself to learn something you're not going to enjoy. By all means. Just because I use Fusion 360 doesn't mean you have to.
Okay. Next question is from Sakura 3D.
Yep.
They've been patient in asking this throughout the stream, so thank you for waiting. Are you planning on doing any filament comparison videos to show their differences, pros, cons? Also, what do you think about the Hatchbox filaments?
Okay, so for filament comparison videos, no, unfortunately, I just don't have time anymore to do that sort of in-depth analysis. But my buddy Tom Sandlanderer, over on his channel, Tom's 3D, he has done a whole Filaween series on different filaments. It's really good. Go check it out. He's absolutely compared so many different types of filaments in a very structured format. There's no reason for me to replicate what he's done because he's done it so well. So check that out. Hatchbox, I've never tried it. It's more an American thing. You don't get Hatchbox in Australia. But from what I can tell, it's a good cheap filament. And if it's cheap and it works, then by all means, use it. I use whatever's cheapest available to me, which tends to be Hobby King. But if Hatchbox works for you, go for it. Nothing wrong with it.
Okay, so the last question is about the Bay Area Maker Faire.
Yes.
So would you like to tell people about that? Because you'll be definitely attending.
Okay, so just to finish up, guys. So the Bay Area Maker Faire, initially I'm actually going to the Matter Hackers meetup in LA. So that's before Bay Area Maker Faire. And I'm going to be there with Joel and Dustin and Devin and heaps of people. And then we're all road tripping to the Bay Area Maker Faire, which I'll be there for the whole 3 days or so, whenever it's on. I can't, so much to plan. And then I'm flying all the way back to Sydney. So it's going to be a whirlwind of adventure. But my home base will be the Matter Hackers booth. So look for me around there, and you should be able to find me. But I'll maybe well be wandering around trying to film stuff and document the event for you guys who can't make it, because I'm going to do a lot of videos. And I need to shout out my sponsors as well for that event, because they have covered my flights, which is awesome. So Aleph Objects have helped out a lot. They're the Lolspot printers, and Matter Hackers will be representing them there as well at the event. 3D printing systems in Australia sell the ups, and Bruce has been kind enough to support me to go to the event. There's X3D who sell filament. They're based in Perth and they sell filament Australia-wide. Again, great guys. And finally, there's Mark who makes the Moai SLA 3D printer that I recently tested out. He was like, hey Angus, I'm going to be there. Here's some support for your flights. So those 4 companies, awesome. And they have made it possible for me to visit the event. So hit them up if you're after filament or an SLA or a 3D printer. They're just... When I put the call out, I thought no one would help, and these guys helped, so I really appreciate it. Cool. Just a few super chats before I finish up, guys. Bruno, can you help me with ABS warping? Have a Prusa i3 light machine with a heat bed, but it only reaches 80 degrees. Hard to build an enclosure. Don't print in ABS then. There's no... If you're trying to print for strength, then print it in something like PETG or a modified PLA. ABS is a nightmare to print without an enclosure. Just honestly, save yourself the pain. Because even if you get it to stick higher up the print, it's going to start doing what's called delamination, where it actually cracks apart. And even if you have a hot bed at 100 degrees, higher up, it's not going to be 100 degrees. So my advice would be just to not do ABS, because it's going to end up damaging your printer over time if you're trying to heat the bed for ages and ages. Oh, and Mark, thank you so much. Keep on the good work. Hope to see you in New Zealand sometime. Yes, I would love to make a trip to New Zealand at some point. My sister's there currently. She just went to Milford Sound. I am really jealous, and I hope to make it there at some point as well. Sweet. Okay, guys. So I'm probably going to have to call it there. Thank you so much for joining me in this stream. I hope I've answered some of your questions. Sorry I couldn't get through to all of them. This is probably the most people I've ever had in a stream. So thank you so much for joining. And... as always, I look forward to seeing you again very shortly. If you're going to be at Bay Area Maker Faire, I'd love to catch up. Come see me and Joel and everyone. And massive thanks as well to my supporters on Patreon, who make it possible for me to pay for the really fast internet to do 1080p streaming. I'm only able to do it thanks to your support. So yeah, have a fantastic weekend, dudes, and I look forward to seeing you again very shortly here on Makers Muse. And anything, final words from Lady Muse?
I'm tired and hungry.
Yeah, we need to go feed Lady Muse. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you again very shortly.
Thank you all.
Happy printing. Bye.
Bye.